Hello all, and welcome to tonight's beer review, which I am calling the Escape from Work beer review. Basically, I've learned that my really crappy security job right now has the tendency to try to get me to come into work on my days off, as well as work longer shifts than what I'm scheduled for, leading to like some 50-hour plus weeks. They've also taken upon themselves to kind of scam me out of some of my overtime hours, so I'm not really all that enthused about working overtime. And since it's often involuntary, the request to come in, I found one of the ways that I can avoid having to go in is by saying I've had a few beers before when they call me to come in at the last moment. So for that reason, I figured that buying beer would be a very legitimate excuse to avoid work. So, I'm going to review a beer, and that is from Sam Adams' Holiday, Winter Holiday box set. And basically, it's the usual ones. I've reviewed the Oktoberfest and the Harvest Pumpkin. You can go and look those up if you want to, under umpty million other reviews. But this is the unique one for this year, which is Hoppy Red. So, let's read the label, shall we? Amber, smooth, and resinous, this ale was inspired by our exploration of Australian hops. We discovered that rugged, spicy, and piney character brightened a backbone of roasted caramel malts, creating a beer with surprising depth and smoothness. Cheers. This is 5.7 ABV, kind of heavy for Sam Adams, and well, at least their regular beers. I've never really seen them go over 6.0 for their box sets. So it's Hoppy Red. I've seen it on beer reviews as classified as a red ale as opposed to an IPA, and I kind of agree with that assessment. It's more like a very hoppy red ale rather than a red IPA. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's go and drink this beer and find out. Obviously, beautiful, clear red color, or copper red color, obvious red ale, with a beige head. Smell is incredibly hoppy. Definitely have sort of a pine, very strong pine needle scent up front with a tropical fruit underneath that. There's a bit of sweetness there, that red caramel malt sweetness. Now, when I say this is more of a red ale that's been aggressively hopped rather than an IPA, that comes through in the finish. The finish is of a red ale. You got more malt, more lasting of those caramel malts going on, certain toasted breadiness going on, then, you know, the sort of hop finish that you expect from an IPA. That said, there is a very resinous quality in the mid to finish, but the malts definitely overwhelm that. Front and mid also has that wonderful sort of fine tea flavor that I like in red ales, as well as some malt sweetness. Not too much malt sweetness, but just enough. That lasts from the start to the finish. All in all, about a mid mouthfeel. It's, I could say, pretty much a mouthfeel as you would think for a red ale, with some of that sort of sticky resinous feeling from the hops. Pine resin as opposed to dank resin. beautiful lacing, as most Sam Adams usually have. And I would say fairly refreshing. It's not heavy. All in all, since this kind of comes across as a very well-made red ale, with the twist of amping up the hops a bit, but not a whole bunch, I would definitely say this is, you know, a very good beer. I would say almost an excellent sort of beer in regards to that sort of experimental, kind of pushing the envelope. Okay, we're going to take a red ale right now, but let's not go all the way to IPA. Let's go and see what we can do with a red ale and changing those hops a little bit, but still having it remain a red ale. And balanced. This is still very well balanced. As it warms up, more of those red ale notes are starting to come up. It's getting better as it warms up. So, I'm getting shorter at my reviews, I guess because I'm getting better at tasting, or I'm getting a little bit less loquacious, perhaps. So, Sam Adams Hoppy Red, definitely a good reason to go and pick up the box set, especially since you got that pretty good Oktoberfest one in there as well, and as well as a good standby Boston lager, which really never grows old, at least for me. Harvest Pumpkin, well, it's not bad, but it's not good either, so, you know, it's drinkable for me. I would much prefer a more pumpkin-y pumpkin ale as opposed to pumpkin spicy pumpkin ale. So, all in all, get the box set, try this Hoppy Red. It's very interesting. I'd like to see both Sam Adams and more makers try to go and play around with hops without trying to make all beers in IPA, you know, where hops are basically the forefront of it. So, Hoppy Red from Sam Adams, Boston Beer Company. Definitely give it a shot. That's your beer review for tonight, folks. Cheers.